Hello again, YouTube! It's YouTube Tuesday for me. I don't know what day of the week it is for you, or if I've been doing this forever. I'm very curious on how long YouTube will last total. Internet is in its infancy. So today I'm going to talk about art etiquette, and I'm going to draw something. I don't know what, probably something wintry, sorry. But I've got craft and art shows to look forward to, and so I might as well doodle a little bit. It probably won't be finished as we're talking, but something pretty to look at. This, obviously, is a wonderful blizzard. It's a Michigan snow scene. It's complete. Okay, so art etiquette. I don't know when the last time you've been to an art fair is, unless you're one of my friends and you visited me. Art fair, art show, and they can be kind of awkward. They're kind of these quiet mausoleum museum things, and you don't know what you're supposed to do because something might even be kind of ugly. What the heck do you do at an art show? Why would you even go to an art show if you're not able to invest in anything? I mean, it's pretty stuff, sure, but what if it's not? So, honestly, the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to art etiquette is respecting people. If you can't respect human beings that have different opinions than you, you cannot have correct art etiquette. If something's ugly, or if they're earning a living at what they're doing. And you have to respect people above all else before you can have good art etiquette. Now, let me see, I've got a good list here that I actually thought some of this stuff through. A lot of this has to do when people have different opinions than you. Art is so stinking subjective. You have to keep these in mind, and it comes down to basic things when people have different opinions. So the best way I can recommend art etiquette and to explain all of this is that art, a piece of art, pottery, a quilt, a painting, anything like that, the best thing to think of it is like a puppy or a baby. A puppy or a baby. Now, obviously, a piece of art has a lot less value than a living creature, especially a human. Much, much less value. But for the purpose of this metaphor, let's say that art is the artist's or creator's baby. Now, you're not going to go up to a newborn and sneeze on it, are you? Exactly. You probably wouldn't sneeze on a painting either. But are you going to be running and screaming around a newborn? Probably not. Just put it to sleep. You can see in museums and galleries, people aren't really running and screaming. They're quieter. They're talking hushed, like a library. Puppies, you don't drop them. You don't drop puppies, you don't drop babies. That's a pretty easy one right there. Now, there are probably a lot of people in this world that if they see a newborn, the first thing they want to do is go over and touch it. They want to pet it, they want to hold it. Is this a good idea? For a brand new puppy, a brand new dog you see walking around, a baby with a brand new mom, is a good idea to touch it without asking permission at all? No. You might get slapped, or worse. Do not touch someone else's baby without permission. And this goes for art too. Unless there is a sign specifically saying, please touch this art, do not. Don't wait for a sign that says, don't touch me. Just default, don't touch it. There was an art hop in Kalamazoo a couple months ago where a potter was displaying some of his stuff, and it happened to be a commission. This lady went over and picked it up and broke the commission. Why are you touching pottery? It wasn't even for sale. It was a expensive, large piece of pottery. Don't touch it. And this isn't even about you break it, you buy it. This isn't coming out of molds. This isn't reproducible stuff. This is like something in a museum that cannot be reproduced. So when you break this, you can't replace it. Just don't touch it unless you are invited, or just ask. It's so easy. Artists would love to tell you about their art and whether you can touch it or not. They might even put it in your hands. They can tell you what you can touch or what not to. The best thing you can do for art etiquette is to ask questions, even if the artist isn't there themselves. Don't touch it. It is not replaceable. Do not touch a brand new newborn randomly. I just realized I'm not really doing much painting. I'm just talking and thinking. So, sorry guys. Here, look, interesting blue skies. Whee! Oh, and there's some yellow. Okay, cool. We'll see if I get some snow in here. I'm actually gonna put me in front of the camera. So you're not gonna touch a brand new baby. You're not gonna touch a piece of art like that. You just, no, just don't. Just say no. And what happens if this particular baby is ugly? What do you do when someone has a really ugly baby? It's beautiful to them. Your great Aunt Edna might have a really ugly, very expensive and exotic breed of dog. She is proud of that thing. She loves that thing. You will respect her dog. But Lordy, it's snapping at you and it's hideous. What do you do? Whatever you do there is the same thing you do if the art is ugly. You do not tell the mom the baby is ugly to their face. Also, you might get slapped by the mom. Artists, not so much, but it happens to us all the time. And at that point, it's really subjective. Really, really subjective on whether art is ugly or not. Some art is not meant to be pretty. Honestly, it's meant to make an impact. So don't insult it. It's like a brand new newborn. Don't insult the mom by calling it ugly. Now, if anything, if you don't understand why an art is ugly, or if you are asked to make a comment about art that you think is ugly, ask them why they chose to maybe do something in a certain color. Why they chose a subject. So that's what you can do when something's really ugly. Another thing you wouldn't do with a newborn or a stranger's child is photograph it. Today's age, that's really, really creepy if you're photographing someone else's children. And puppies, okay, not so much. But with art, we copyright that stuff. We have spent hundreds of hours working on that particular piece of art. We didn't spend just the time it took to paint that. We spent hours and hours and hours of practice working on a technique to do that very thing. So when it comes to just ugly stuff or what we did with it, just ask. Don't photograph it randomly and stick it online. There's a lot of times that happens to me at art hops and art shows, and I have people take a business card. If they want to take a picture and put it online, put my name with it. You obviously didn't buy it, and you're still using the image. Museums, it can be even worse. And oftentimes, a flash can actually hurt older paintings. Any sort of light. They're very, very careful about what they display those lights to, and the paints and everything. Don't photograph another person's baby. That's what breaks down to with art. Unless they ask you to or say it's okay. Just ask. If anything, they'll be happy that you want to share their image with the world. So just ask. That's the biggest thing for art etiquette. Don't call it ugly to the parent's face, and ask. Just ask. Now, art isn't just like an object to most artists. It's hours and hours of prep. It's like a song stuck in your head. You can't get it out until you've painted it or carved it or sculpted it 100 times. There's something beautiful and you want to get it out of your head. That's kind of like that. Just ask, if you think it's hideous, why did they make it? What intrigued them about the subject that made them make it? Maybe it's supposed to be ugly. There's a lot of art that's supposed to be ugly and it has more impact that way. All right, what else is on here? So what happens if the art is ugly? It's either really, really expensive, just can't afford it, but you still love the artist. How can you help them without telling them to go back to art school, which also I highly do not recommend that. I do not at all. Well, what you can do is you can share, you can like, you can comment on all their social media stuff. A lot of social media is burying small businesses. And even if you can't purchase something for $100, you can share for free. And that helps it get somewhere where it can be purchased to pay their bills and feed them. Or you could get them lunch, buy them prints, go to their events, buy them some coffee. Coffee is always good for artists. You could help them, ask them what they want for art supplies. You never know. So even if you think their stuff is ugly and it's not just for you, you can still support what they do. Please do not complain about prices. This is another huge pet peeve and a big insult, honestly. If it's too expensive for you, it's too expensive for you. If they're not selling because it's too expensive, they will eventually figure that out. Just by not selling stuff. But please do not complain about prices to their face. Or to their friends, honestly, for that matter. Because what's too expensive for you might be fine for somebody else. And art is so subjective, you'd be surprised what's out there for millions of dollars. So please, if it's too pricey, well, keep it to yourself or try making it yourself and see what happens. Let me see. If you are doing a commission of sorts, or if you really, really like their art, you have a lower budget and you think it's too expensive, complaining or even mentioning that, hey, this is out of my budget or that's too expensive for what I expected, that will not get you good results if you're trying to get a commission. What I highly recommend doing is telling them what your budget is to begin with. Hey, I can't do this $500 piece of art that I really liked. See, show them what you liked about their art, but I've got this $50 right here. What can you make for me for that amount? So when you've done that, you've shown them that you like their work, you've seen their stuff, and you've given them an example of what you like about it. That really helps us create something else. And you know what we have to work with when you give us a budget like that. Also very, very helpful. It still might be a lot less than you expected, but you know what? If you are a fan of our art, we'll make something work so we get some original art in your hands. In conclusion, if it's not what you like, it's probably not for you. There's a lot of really subjective art out there. And this goes with treating everybody. If you don't agree with somebody, and Lordy knows that we're having lots of that these days, it just could be a subjective thing that's not for you. That doesn't mean you have to lie about it and pretend that you really do, but you don't have to insult them to their face either. That's harsh words right there for the art world, but as an artist, let me tell you, basically treat art like it's a puppy. Don't drop it, don't touch it without permission. It might actually bite or break, which would be worse. It's their baby. Do not touch without permission. That is the nutshell version of art. What else we got? If you don't like the art or it's too expensive, act like it's a fascinating, exotic, ugly dog breed. And oh yes, very nice. I can see you love that. And in doubt, for all these things, ask questions. Do not be afraid of asking the artist questions. That's the biggest thing to do. If you feel awkward, engage. You'll learn so much about the artist, this world, and the lens they see through, even if it's not yours, if you just ask questions with them. So that's art etiquette in a nutshell. It's a puppy. Go out there and ask to pet all the puppies and enjoy them. The artists definitely want to show you their puppies and their cats and their babies. Not all babies are the wrinkly potato types. So go out there and make the world a better place by enjoying views different from your own and learning to engage with art etiquette in that way. But don't touch. Don't touch. Also, as I see this thing wiggling around a little bit, please like and subscribe for free support for your local artist and more tips on art etiquette, art stuff, what to do with art, this wild creature that you find. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.